2 minutes for more people to join in.
Sounds
But
good.
yeah,
Yeah.
And the recording is working, so yeah, let's go.
Cool.
Yeah, Jamie, feel free to come up on the stage whenever you're ready. Yep, he's on. Hey, Jamie, how's it going?
I was pressing the button and it wasn't doing anything.
No worries.
Oh,
But I guess
Discord
I'm here now. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hi. How's it going?
Yeah, it's going good. Sorry about the influx of random people joining. I added everyone in the Notify server. So,
oh, that's fine.
Wow. Wow.
and I haven't mentioned anything in that server in a while. So I think they still think Notify exists.
Wow.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, okay. So to start this off, we are going to be doing this one in like a slightly different style. For those of you who haven't really been listening in on our past ones, we've been kind of doing a more like interview style situation, but we're trying to move towards more of like a Joe Rogan kind of podcast format. So just, kind of chill conversation, just kind of going over everything. And yeah. So, Jamie, if you could just introduce yourself to everybody, for anyone who might not know who you are, that would be great. And then I'll just hand you off to Barricette to kick it off.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so all
Go
right.
on.
So just to begin things, I just wanted to say thank you for joining us, first of all. And
problem.
yeah, so yeah, if you'd like to introduce yourself to everyone, just to kick things off, that would be amazing.
Okay. Yeah, I'm Jamie. I am a software engineer, and a few years ago, I decided to embark on the journey of creating a startup because I was previously a YouTuber and I wanted to solve a problem for myself and for a lot of my YouTube friends, that notifications weren't being delivered, and we felt like YouTube was pushing away the whole idea of a subscription. And so I came up with this idea, and I couldn't really code. I knew HTML and CSS. That was about it. But in terms of being a software engineer, that was not something I ever thought that I would be. But of course, in order to build this thing, I had to learn it. And at the same time, of course, I was being told to get a job. So I started streaming on Twitch, and that paid the way for me to be able to kind of get to bootstrap this thing for about a year. Um, and yeah, I mean, well, I guess that's not really an introduction. That's more of just like a quick, brief life story. But yeah, no, I guess, yeah, I'm Jamie. I'm a software engineer, and I built Notify, and it recently, or kind of recently, failed. And now I work at cal.com as a software engineer, which is it's an open source scheduling infrastructure, and we're going to connect 1 billion people by the year 2031. That's
Damn. Big goals.
by 3021. We're gonna get
Going for the long-term goals, huh?
Indeed,
All right. Yeah, I have like no idea what just happened. I think Barricette is having tech difficulties, so sorry about that, like weird, awkward pause.
That's fine.
So you're really like you're doing a lot. You're doing content creation. You're live streaming. Obviously you started Notify, which was your own startup, and now you're working as a software engineer at Cal. So I guess we could just start off with kind of like your origin story. How did you get into this space? Like, did you just were you one of those people who started like coding when they were really young, or
No.
yeah.
No. I mean, I've always been very interested in engineering and like building things. I mean, my mom pulled up a bunch of like, I guess, stuff that I drew and did when I was a kid at one point, and I was expecting to see normal kid stuff, but I was drawing the insides of vacuum cleaners. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what was inside of a vacuum cleaner. I was just imagining what would be inside the vacuum cleaner, and I would draw cross sections of houses instead of actual houses because I was really interested in like what was in the walls. And I don't know. So like, I guess inherently, I've always been interested in engineering. Like the idea of what makes something work is super, super exciting to me. And of course, I fell into filmmaking when I was like around 9, 10 years old, because my parents got me a video camera. And so
Hmm.
I kind of ended up, I guess, drifting away from the whole concept of engineering, which is what I kind of as a kid thought I wanted to do. Actually, like mechanical engineering. I always used to say I would build the first humanoid robots when I was a kid, because I was just obsessed with movies like iRobot and stuff like that. So
Right.
yeah, but then when it came to it, I really enjoyed filmmaking and I loved telling stories, and I kind of figured that out by age 10, and so. Um, I dove right into that for years and years and years. I was just filming movies with my friends and just making stupid things. I've thousands and thousands of little short films I made as a kid, and that landed me eventually in film school. And so that's what I did for from 16 to 21, pretty much. I just
Oh,
studied film, and
okay.
yeah. So during that time, I uh, I ended up but also becoming a YouTuber, of course, because it's just over in it's just that YouTube has just come about, and now you can share these films on the internet, and I loved that. And so I've had many channels since like I think 2006 was my first YouTube channel. um,
That's crazy. So, I mean, okay, lots to unpack here. First of all, the whole engineering thing, that's super interesting. I never knew that about you. Um, Ironically, there's actually a crazy percentage of entrepreneurs who are actually like originally engineers. Like I'm pretty sure Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, definitely around like 50% of Fortune 500 company founders were engineers. So, adding on to that, the whole content creation aspect, where you're growing your own community and your own audience that you can then, talk about and then launch your startups to feels kind of like a perfect combination.
Yeah. No, I mean it's great if I only managed to do it properly because this is like I feel like I could be taking much better advantage of that combinations. Given that for example, I released an app called Cash Monkey, and that I obviously used the idea of documenting me building it to actually promote it. The whole video of me actually making this app was an entertaining piece on its own, which ultimately just promoted the app.
Yeah.
And obviously that there are people out there like Ben Awad and Scott Hyatt and people like that who have absolutely like nailed that formula of kind of just taking people on the journey of building something in a more compact way. What I do with my Twitch, it's a little bit more slow release. I kind of fall into the more of a category of it's chill background stuff while you work as opposed to like we're actually seriously promoting this product. And I think I want to utilize that combination a lot more in the future to like make smaller things that are digestible through TikToks or YouTube videos, and don't take 3 years to produce.
For sure. So, it's actually kind of interesting that like you're very, engineer minded. But you decided to go into like software startups. You didn't work on anything physical. Is there any reason for
I'm
that? Like what drew you to software?
I mean, software. Well, you don't have to move as much, really. It's you can kind of just sit at the computer and type, and it all happens. Whereas if you're building something, it's a lot more like physical labor, I
From
guess. Well, you know, but at the same time, I think I am interested in just in regular engineering as well. But I'm not. I've never really dove into it too deep aside from my childhood. As an adult, I've really only stayed on the filmmaking and software side. So but it's something I've always been interested in. I remember I've come up with many ideas for startups throughout my life so far, and much before I could code, and a lot of them were like hardware software products. And not that I know how to make them, but believe me, I would try to mock them up. I would do my best to design all the UI, and like actually like just do like 3D modeling of what this hardware product might look like.
What?
And I've dove into that a few times.
Huh. Okay.
Um, I'd like to intervene real quick. I want to reveal that BuilderGroop has just hit 1,000 members. So congratulations to our 1,000th member, Finley. And yeah, you can carry on already. Sorry about that.
Hey,
No
1,000
way.
members. Let's get it.
Party. Um, okay, so now obviously you said that you also went into film school, which is I find really interesting. Just like a little background on me, I'm really into photography. I tried out film stuff for a while. I bought a gimbal, all that jazz. Um, so so it really sounds like you have lots of different interests, lots of different things that you're good at. Um, were you fully expecting to become a filmmaker for like a significant period of your life?
Yeah, genuinely. That was like I was almost set on that. That was like my, because of course since 10 that's been my vision, and then throughout school I was, constantly making movies. And so every teacher would gas me up and say, "Oh, you're the next Steven Spielberg. You're gonna go on to make all these films." And like that's genuinely where I believed that I would be. And as well with acting too. I was a theater kid, so like I wanted to be on camera, and I wanted to be behind the camera, but I didn't really ever imagine myself being a programmer. In fact, I as much as I find it interesting, I would have, I guess, thought of that as a boring kind of job.
Mm.
But I am one. I say it's quite the contrary, but um, yeah, it's definitely a weird combination to go from kind of theater kid to program.
Yeah, for sure.
It's just like I guess I'm one of those people that like if I get interested in something, then I'm just gonna obsess. I'm gonna hyperfixate on it until I can know everything there is to know about it. Um, because it's just and it never adds up. It never makes sense. Like it's never just like, oh, this is me. I'm good at this. If I
Right.
see something and I tell myself I want to be good at it, I will beat myself up about it until I'm good at it, and or until I quit, which is 50-50. um, if I
That's pretty
really
much
like
part.
it, then I might get good at it. That's just. I think that's true for everybody, though.
Yeah, I mean that's something I find like particularly interesting about you though, because you do have lots of interests. You have like um, really gone far in like multiple different directions, and yeah, that's just something that I found pretty cool. So
Thank
right
you.
now you're working at a startup called Cal.com, right? It's
Yep.
a
Yep.
scheduling app. It's like open source.
Hmm.
Oh, how did that come about, and how are you enjoying it?
Yeah. So that I was kind of before some context. Once Notify shut down, I was kind of winging it for as long as I could to try and survive without without any income source. I was coming up with other startup ideas and everything, but it kind of got to the point where I'm like, what am I doing? Just I'm putting myself in a very strugglesome position for no good reason. So I decided to tweet out, I need a job. And I wanted to see, if I would explore my options, see if there's something that really made sense for me, and that I could get excited about. Um, and I had a few really really good offers, which was obviously caught me by surprise. But thankfully, of course, because people had followed the journey of Notify, I had kind of at least developed a little bit of a network to where I had the privilege of just tweeting I need a job, and then having the offers come to me. But it was also there were some other I had some referrals at bigger companies, and I was thinking, oh, that could be incredible working like, this is where you see on people's Twitter all the time where it's just like previously Twitter, Facebook, Uber, SpaceX, and
Right.
I'm just like, maybe this is my chance to get some of those creds under the belt. But after interviewing and going through the process with a lot of big companies, I really just felt like I would be signing myself into their kind of into their world, and not really be able to express myself through the ways that I like to, such as streaming and tweeting, extensive sharing of what I do. And that's why when Cal came in through the door and said, we'd love to talk to you, I was kind of interested. It's open source. I can stream it. It's the team. It's early stage. The team is remote. Everything just kind of lined up. And so even though I had potentially better offers on the table in terms of like pay and I guess being an established company, or other companies being established companies, um, Yeah, I went with Cal because it's just, I love that. I think the product is great. I like the team. It's relatively small. It's asynchronous. It's remote. Um, and of course they encouraged me to stream, which was great. So I can continue doing what I already do, and not kind of abandon my audience and people that want to kind of use me as the chill beats to relax and study to.
For
Yeah, and
sure.
I guess that also like matches like through what you've been doing like previously to Cal, so like you can continue like what you like doing.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think yeah, it was a really good decision, especially like the open source, like what Cal's doing. And like yeah, it's open source, like you can stream it, which is really good.
Yeah.
And it's a really like growing like small startup, so like there's a lot of
Mhm.
opportunity there too. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, it's
literally
really,
like
I got very lucky with it. I feel.
yeah. I really I'm very interested in Cal. Like maybe 2 3 months before you came on, I actually wrote a Twitter thread, kind of just saying like Cal.com hits off all of my boxes, because it's like, remote, it's minimalistic, it's open source, it's definitely leading, um, in many ways.
And then, they
So,
were called Kalanso before, and then they snatched up Cal.com somehow. And
uh,
everyone asked me, how'd you guys get hold of that? I don't know. Go ask Pierre. Like a three-letter.com? I don't know what organs were sold for that, but
yeah, that's
that's awesome.
gold. Yeah.
And I
No,
remember like before they got cal.com, wasn't it like calandso.com?
Yeah, it was Kalanso. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
like, and now Calendly, it's like, Calendly sounds like the knockoff. I hope I don't get in trouble
uh,
for that one.
no. Y- and you guys just launched like a Web3 part, right?
Yeah, yeah. So the whole idea behind that is that you can connect with other people who share the same token as you, and you might think, oh, well, why would I need to do that? But DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations, will benefit greatly from being. And this is Pierre learned this by actually meeting a bunch of people at a convention who, or a Web3 convention, and this problem was kind of presented to him. Um, and yeah, the whole idea behind it is that the people who operate DAOs, who often there is no, of course, like central authority to that, so it just makes a very universal, equal way to schedule and book meetings in a decentralized space.
Yeah, I mean, this
So
is what I
yeah,
mean.
I
You
think
guys, sorry, go ahead.
no, no, go you.
Okay. I mean, yeah, like really, you guys are pushing boundaries here. And I think everyone, at least in this audience, knows that Cal.com is far ahead of Calendly because, every time I check in, there's something new. You guys are like very progressive in
Mhm.
your core principles and everything. So I applaud you on that decision to start working with them.
Yeah, it's
Um,
exciting.
yeah.
And
So
yeah.
for you, Cal, actually, you know what, Bearcat, do you want to take this part?
I was just gonna add something. I was just gonna say that one thing that I really like, just and I know I mentioned this before, is that Cal's open source, and like I know there's like so much activity, which is like really nice to see that something that you're using is like frequently being updated and like maintained and stuff like that. Because I know, for example, like Calendly, you can't really see like if there are any new features or if anything else is like being maintained. Like who knows, like when the last time was someone worked on it or like someone
Mhm.
updated it. But yeah, I just wanted to add
I think
that.
that's the beauty of open source. It's that the community can be so involved with the software, and it really the people that use it shape the product so much. Like the amount of PRs and issues that we get that end up turning into features. I mean, most of the new features that we're building are directly requested through issues and through the GitHub, and often they'll land on my desk and I'll end up building them. So who knows if you have an idea, if you feel like Cal could change in any way, you just simply writing that suggestion to them could end up with me building it in like within a week. So whatever you want to suggest, you can get involved with the GitHub. You can check out the code. You can even go through my PRs. Like whatever. I love the idea of my work being open. It encourages me to write better code too because I know you're looking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's Um,
Uh,
yeah, really, like when you see this influx, this movement of open source software, it really does feel like where software should be. This kind of like corporatized version of all these different software companies. It's all fine and good, but it's really it stands out when you see companies like Cal.com doing these various
Mm.
initiatives.
For
yeah,
sure. Yeah. Open source
Um,
can change the world.
yeah.
yes.
Well, and like going back to going to a different question now. Earlier stages. Besides like going to Notify and Cal.com, I just wanted to ask how you got into programming. Like just the first, maybe it was like the first line of code, the first app that you wrote, or just generally how you found out about
So
programming.
I often, in my streams, you'll catch me having said that I started coding to build Notify, and while that is somewhat true, I've had flings with it in the past. And my first fling with it, I guess I was 15, and I was running a Mac review blog called I Talk Mac. And it actually had subscribers and readers, which was crazy to me. And that was a WordPress site. And so I kind of got into from having done that, I kind of got into WordPress themes. And my first, I spent at one point, I think when I was 15 to 16, I spent about 6 months developing, or maybe even 9 months developing a WordPress theme that I was intending to sell on ThemeForest. And I was so pumped. I was doing crunching numbers every day of other people that had successful themes on there and seeing how much money they could make. And I really wanted an iPad. That was like my main goal, to just get an iPad, and I couldn't afford one. So I was trying my best to kind of to generate the money through ad revenue and everything. And when that wasn't working, and my WordPress theme got rejected, I believe at one point I started this thing called Magic Apple, which was basically me affiliate marketing to get this iPad, where other people would come in and do and then basically create their own site to promote the same thing that I'm promoting, which would feed back to me. It's a giant pyramid scheme, but that's just how it works. So, but of course, I made no money from that, and I never got that iPad. But and ThemeForest rejecting my theme because it wasn't responsive broke my little heart, and I kind of threw it all out after that.
No.
That said, I do still have that theme, and then I actually sold it privately, or I sold it to a couple friends who were building websites, and they built many of their own successful sites through my theme. It wasn't the best theme in the world, but it was pretty good for the first day. I actually finished it, which for me is always an accomplishment. If I can get a project out the door, I have made so much more progress than I would usually make on average. So seeing that, I uploaded it to my GitHub a few years back because I found the files. So it's up there on my GitHub, Silverline WordPress theme. It's PHP and there's no code formatting on it. It's horrendous, but it's there. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's how I got into it. I mean, and so of course, when I came to start Notify, I wasn't intimidated by code because I knew I'd done it before. But that said, I had no idea where to start. I'd never used JavaScript in my life. I was like, what's Node.js? What's Vue.js? What's React? And I was watching all these videos on YouTube, and I'm like, wow, there's so much I don't know. And learning Git for the first time too was just like, what on earth? I did not understand it. And thankfully, because I was streaming, I had the chat. In fact, one of the first people who was ever in my chat is in this call right now, or in the audience right now, is Mercury. His name was Void Mercury, and he came in, and he was essentially just giving me guidance from the chat. And he would end up becoming the co-founder of Notify, go on that entire journey with me. But I think that was just the value that Twitch gave me. I learned super fast because I was coding in front of people, and of course, all these people were helping me. Like if I was writing bad code, the chat would call me out, or if they didn't like the tech I was using, they'd also call me out, which was fun. Like, why are you using Vue.js every single day? Now it's what happened to Notify. I love that one.
Okay, so then what
Um,
happened?
really quickly, sorry. I'll just quickly go intervene real quick here. Just for the community, just a little announcement. If any of you have any questions that you'd like to ask Jamie, we've created a thread under the events channel. So feel free to post anything there, and make sure you guys tell your friends because obviously this is a pretty interesting talk. So yeah, let's make this big.
Damn,
Nice.
what an ad break, huh?
A little ad break. Sponsored.
So, yeah, let's talk about Notify. Like that is that's where I originally discovered you. I was literally like browsing YouTube one day, maybe like 1 or 2 years ago. I don't even know. And I saw like the vlog of you guys working in the Notify house, and
Yeah.
that was insane for me. I think that was one of the first moments I really realized, like, oh my God, the startup life is what I want to chase. So, yeah, tell us like a little bit about how that all started and what led to its
Yeah.
downfall.
Okay. So, of course, I made Notify out of that. Like I said, out of the disparity, I felt that all these platforms are prioritizing algorithms, and the whole idea of building an audience felt like it was neglected. Now, of course, this was just a feeling. This is not. I guess like it was in the minds of many YouTubers at the time. So when I presented this idea of, hey, let's build a notification platform above all platforms, all these YouTubers were telling me it was genius, that it was an incredible idea, and if I built it, they would use it. So day one, I reached out to all these YouTubers, and I had all this validation from them, and for me, that was enough to just drop everything. And so that's what I did, and I dove right into learning to code, and then after maybe about a month or two, I had a fully working web app. It was like all the features that it needed to do the whole process of stuff showing up on the feed and notifications was in place. It was ultimately terrible, but it was there, and that was, of course, when things started moving. And then, as time went on, more and more people would come into my Twitch chat and start helping out, and we had maybe 20, 30, 40 even people go through the repo, and kind of come on or leave or whatever. And Matteo, who's in the chat today, he stayed on, and he was pretty much like my right hand guy. He was back end, really just telling me everything I was doing wrong, designing all the architecture and the infrastructure, and then we brought on a few more people and a few more people. And by the time that we had kind of, we felt like it was ready to quote unquote launch, it was like a year in. And we already had like maybe, I don't know, like 2,000, 3,000 people in the beta from my Twitch streams.
Wow.
And so we were like, okay, let's go. It's time to announce this. And we were a 9-person team at this point too. And yeah, so I put out a Twitter video that I made in the day before. And that Twitter video did extremely well. It blew up in one day. And it's my most popular tweet, and YouTubers were retweeting it. God, everyone, like Dan TDM, Jacksepticeye, Elgato, like everyone was chiming in. And it was huge. And of course, in my DMs, we were flooded with not just YouTubers, but also investors. And that to me was blowing my mind, because I'm like, investors already? Like, is it ready for that? And I wasn't.
Yeah.
I was obviously like immensely excited about the idea of raising money, but also like questioning if we needed it. Questioning, do we need to sell part of the company? Do we need to raise money? And I didn't know better. And if you had asked me now, I would say at that point, no, we did not need to raise money. We should not have raised money at that point. But of course, I was flown out to Detroit. Got a DM saying, "Hey, you need a break? Come out to Detroit. We'll put you up in a hotel. We'll put you up in a, whatever." And that's what I did. I went out there to go meet what would be lead investors, and I incorporated Notify, and flew home. And within, I think I got a 500K check from them, which blew my mind. Yeah, like right off the bat, just boom, 500K. And then they said, go get the other 500K. And so I'm like, okay. And they linked me with every investor in Silicon Valley I must have spoken to. You name a venture, you name it, from Sequoia to Greylock. I was talking to all of them. It was insanity. And I spent maybe a month or two just meetings after meetings after meetings after meetings. And I wouldn't lie. I think because of that, I was missing the boat of the hype too. I think the hype was already died down by the time I'd taken all the meetings and raised the money. There was still hype there, but it was not quite, had I been focused on those on those 2 months after launching, had I been entirely focused on the product and not raising money, then I think that the app may have even come out at that point. But instead, we raised the money, and that was a whole ordeal. And at this point, we're all remote. We're all spaced out around the world. We have people in America, Italy, Dutchland. What's that place? Amsterdam. That's right. Yeah, everywhere. Canada. And so we were like, okay, let's all meet. Let's. This is pre-corona, so this was like not exactly the most crazy thing in the world.
Right.
And so and we had $1 million, so it was like, okay, let's hop on a plane. Let's do it. So everyone got on their planes, and in one day I remember arriving in JFK, and just like spending the entire day in the airport catching programmers like Pokemon. It was like, there's, oh my God, there's Dustin, there's Mateo. We're waiting. Tim's getting in here this time. Oh my God, there's 20's huge. Like it was a good time. And all these people I'd been working with for a year, suddenly all of us were there. And I remember the first day that we got in New York and we got back to our Airbnb, and we ordered tons of pizzas. And I remember Dustin was hacking the Heroku television remotely. He literally brute forced into the TV so we could watch stuff. And yeah, that was crazy. I got a video of that. And yeah, we're just like 9 programmers in a house eating pizza. Like, holy shit. We were just on Discord making stuff. Now we have $1 million and we're in New York City. It was just insanity.
That's insane. How old were you guys?
So I'm at this point 24. 24. Yeah, 20. I may have just turned 25. I can't remember. And yeah, no, 25 by this point, actually. Yeah. Wait, no, I'm 26 now, so I would have been 24. I was 24. Yeah, I was 24. And I think it ranged from 18 to 24. I was the oldest, and then like most of the other founders, Mateo, Jack, Dustin, were like 19, 20. And then there's Tuan was like 19, I think, and then one Luca was 18, and Elijah was 23. So yeah, pretty much anywhere between 18 to 20, 24. So bunch of kids essentially. Nerds in a house, hence why we ended up calling our thing Nerd House, because that's essentially what it was. But I mean, this sounds great and all, but I'm sure many people are identifying the problems that might arise from a situation like this that we were probably ignorant to at this time. And that was that, just because we're all together in person and we have money does not mean that it's all going to magically happen, or productivity is going to be perfect, or even morale is going to be high, because we ended up being together as a group for probably a year and a half, and a lot would ensue in that time. And not an app being released either. So
right. Well, I mean, speaking of like productivity,
Mhm.
whoever, for all the people who have watched your videos, it's very obvious that there is one member of the house in some of these videos that probably wasn't working on the
one
stuff,
out, yeah.
and his name might have been Too Mad. How did that
Yeah.
happen, and how did that affect you guys?
So, geez, okay. Yeah, well, firstly, I'm gonna start off with I love that man. Like, he is probably one of my closest friends that I've made in recent years. He's genuinely one of my favorite people. And so we met because I was in TwitchCon in San Diego, and he was looking to stay in LA longer, and we still had the LA house. We had the first in New York house for a week, then the LA house for 2 months, and then Vancouver. We were out here for over a year, and that's we had the two houses here in Vancouver. But yeah, we met Day in LA, and he came over because he needed somewhere to stay, so he stayed at the house for about 2 weeks. And I think he just kind of we hit it off with everyone. Like he was very interested in what we were doing. I know it doesn't seem like it, right? It's Too Mad. He's literally an animal at times, but like when it comes to when it comes to like just how he is as a person, he's extremely interested in technology, in just academic stuff. He's a very smart guy, and you can probably kind of tell that by how well he knows what he does. He knows his comedy, he knows his audience, and he consistently pushes the boundaries by being crazy, sure, but he knows what works.
Right.
And so he's good at what he does, but also he's extremely interested in what we do. He's interested in programming and startups, and he has his own kind of network of investors and people that he talks to, because I think he said to me, during that time, that's what he aspires to be doing, what I'm doing eventually, and I thought that was I thought that was awesome, and so we kind of like clicked on that note. And then he went to Australia for a bit to live with like Max Mofo and Anything for Views and all that. And then they got sick of him and sent him back. And and so we were like, hey, yeah, we were in Vancouver at this point. And so yeah, he rocked on back up in Vancouver, and then we lived together for like over a year.
That's crazy.
And yeah, many a windows were broken. Don't worry, he paid for the windows. I would not pay for the windows that he broke. He broke the windows and paid for them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
the entire
he broke.
Notify story is very insane. Sounds like something that could be on Netflix.
Honestly, thanks to Too Mad, yeah, like he added this element of it wasn't. So I don't know how other people in the house may have felt about it at times. We managed to. I mean, when we had the mansion, he lived in the garage. He was out of the picture 90% of the time. He had all of us in the big house, and then Too Mad basically operated the garage. That's where he did all the Zoom bombing videos and everything. Like that was his world in those walls. So he wasn't really getting in the way, so to speak. Sometimes I wouldn't see him for like a week or two. You'd hear him though. But yeah, so he definitely I think the overall morale in the house was at times low, because I think that when you put a bunch of guys in a house together, it's a lot of things start falling apart in general, just out of pure, them being guys in a house, right? Like cleanliness
Right.
is another thing. It's so easy for that place to get dirty, even though it's so big. No one wants to clean it because it's so big, and
Right.
stuff like that can just bring the mood down, and people don't want to end up working or leave their rooms, which defeats the whole point of us even being together in the same house in the first place. Like it got to a point when if people aren't even coming out of their rooms, well, why are we here? Like,
Right.
it just kind of so the extremely kind of community like vibe and high morale that we had at the beginning was definitely lost over time, I think.
Yeah, it seems like it
Especially
is
as things
really
got
a situation of. Sorry, go ahead. I missed that.
I was just saying, especially as things got stressful, as this pressure mounted, because of course, the longer and longer we took to come out, the more and more people were saying, "Where's Notify?" The more deadlines we missed, the more unhappy the investors would get, and things were just kind of, and all this pressure was piling up on the team and me, and everything just kind of, we tried. I threw many different things at the wall to try and revive things. Like when we got the office space, that was my idea of like, right, this house thing isn't working. People here are just not. It doesn't feel like a startup anymore. It just feels like everyone hates it here. So let's get this office and let's work together, and let's go into the office and have a routine. And it really did work for like a month or two.
Wow.
Then people stopped going to the office, and then it was like,
Yeah.
oh.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
to make sure, this was your first time and like doing something
Oh,
like
yeah.
this, correct?
Yeah. I had no idea what I
So,
was doing, and I'll admit that.
yeah, I mean,
Nor did I
that's
have too much help. I will say that too. I mean, people tried to, but you see, in my position, because it was so unique, I don't think anyone really knew what to tell me. And
right.
all the things that, I don't think I could do, everyone was telling me different things. If I had a problem with someone, they'd be like, fire them. And I'd be like, well, I can't do that. I live with them.
Right.
So like there were, and if and bringing new people into the team too was very difficult for some reason, because I guess there was this ethos in the team that it was with there, I guess there was a hierarchy. There was this element of I don't know. I tried bringing new people in to kind of organize things, and that didn't settle. It didn't sit well. And yeah, a lot of cases like that just led to me feeling like overall the team was not what a startup should be. We'd fallen way past what a startup should be, and there wasn't too much I could do about it, I felt. I don't feel like in that position. You know, if this was a remote team, it would be a lot easier to say, hey, this isn't working. Let's let's stop. Right? It's like to fire someone would be relatively easy
Right.
remotely, but if you're also sending them on a plane back home, I couldn't do that. And so this is one reason why I would recommend, if you're doing this, to not put yourself in that position, because if it's not working out, you don't have really a good way out of that. If you have if you're working with your friends, because these people were my friends, everyone in that house, we developed such a good friendship and such good vibes at times that it really felt like this was family.
Right.
And we were in it together. And that was my attitude for the most part. Like, we're in it together and we're going to get through this together. You know, everyone, if someone's falling behind, then I'm not going to fire them. We're just going to like figure out a way to make it work for them. And, I just ultimately, all of this was taking time that would ultimately lead to the death of the product.
Right.
So wait, was Notify your first funded startup, or just like generally your first startup?
Yeah, first time I'd ever done anything like this. Like, I was making Notify before I even knew what Git was.
Oh yeah, I mean, it seems like it was a huge learning opportunity though. Like, yeah.
Oh, I mean, yeah, I learned everything I know. I'd say from that experience, and I feel like so much more equipped now to tackle, to even to give people advice. I've seen every way that it possibly can go wrong. At times, it did feel like we were living almost a parody TV show of a startup rather than a startup. I guess that is valuable insight, really, to see how it can go. And I feel so much more confident. If I were to start a startup right now, I'd know exactly what to do. I wouldn't even be scared of it.
Yeah.
So then,
So,
let's play that out. So if you had to start Notify again, what would you be doing differently?
well, firstly, MVP right out the door as fast as possible, without even. Of course, you can go do some diligence on your idea and get people's get feedback and do some surveys if you really don't want to waste any time. But I guess this kind of stuff is repeated all the time on Twitter, and you see a lot of advice from people, from gurus in the startup world that will say this. But I feel like for me it doesn't. I knew these kind of things. Like, I knew, like, okay, don't get a product, test the water and get your idea validated as fast as possible. And I knew that, but the thing is, I felt like it already was validated. And there's a difference between, it feeling like it's validated and actually being validated. In my eyes, the product had been validated by all of the people that were testing it out and using it and telling me it was great, and all the hype that it generated. And so I felt at the time when I took money that it was already validated. Now I wouldn't take money unless the product didn't require any more work to prove its basic core transaction. So right now I get something out the door, start getting users, make sure that those users are happy, make sure that that it could scale. And I think what's weird about venture capital is I think that so many investors are willing to take the bet on whether on investing in a pre-product company just because they can get in at such a good price and make such high returns. And I think that if they can check just a few of the boxes, in our case, they checked the hype box, they checked the kind of the timing box and the market hype. I already said that, but yeah, hype. It pretty much was all hype and a domain name. And I think that was enough. That was enough to kind of to take the bet. And $1 million is not a very big bet in the venture capital world, for sure, even though it's a scary amount of money to me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, and
I
what
wouldn't
about
raise money, is what I'm getting at. I wouldn't raise money. I'd just make sure I have enough to get the product out the door, and it's only when I feel like there's a business to be made. In my opinion, I really don't like, and I've always hated the idea of focusing on raising money and just playing the investor game and playing let's get to the next round, let's get the next pitch deck, let's get the next term sheet, all that stuff. Like, thinking about that, I don't even want to think about that. What I want to think about is how can I really get a product out the door that people are going to love using. And only when I have a business that is already established around that product and it's time to scale it, that is when you should start thinking about venture capital. Otherwise, there are plenty of ways to bootstrap it without venture capital today. Plenty of ways. And I did that with Twitch, and I was doing just fine with Twitch, getting a couple $1,000s a month just from donations of people like, yeah, I love this. Here's a little bit of money. No strings attached, of course, because at that stage it's too early to have strings attached. It's too early to take investment because the risk is so high, and it can change the dynamic of the company. And for me, I'm a very big product guy. I want to build the product myself. I was always being told, you need to be in meetings, you need to be focusing on the business, stop coding. That was everything I was being told by a lot of investors and people who and other founders too. And I'm not going to stop coding. I'm not here to sit in venture calls with venture capitalists. I'm here to build a product. And
Right.
that's I think the mistake that I fell into is really, being sold on the idea of venture capital so early. I guess to an inexperienced person, having $1 million dangling in front of your face is kind of a bit disorienting.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
and
I
I
think
think
that's
somewhere. Oh, sorry, you can continue.
Yeah. Um, I mean, I think that is super, super valuable insight for most people listening because obviously, when like you said, you have $1 million hanging about, it
Creates
seems
more
like
problems.
you'd be crazy to deny
So
it,
many more problems than it solved, from my experience, at least. Because people in the company, at least, were so distracted on like how to establish a company as opposed to how to get this product out the door. Everyone was thinking about like, oh, we need this. We're a company now. We need this. Oh, we need to set this up, or we need all of these company-related things that felt like they came second nature to a Silicon Valley startup. We're getting prioritized over the product, and I feel like if you do that, then I mean, it can work for some people. This whole idea of just building a business and building a venture capital thing where you just purely sell it on hype and have a very minimal product out the door and then just play the game all the way up, it can work for some, but
Yeah,
it depends on what you're going for.
and I think somewhere, some place that people mess up is like trying to raise, especially like when they don't need it.
Yeah, yeah.
Because yeah,
What did I need it for? I had a team that were very willing to work free. They had been for a year, and purely the excitement of being part of Notify was what fueled us all. Like, it really was exciting seeing all, especially the day that announcement video came out, and you had all these YouTubers tweeting it. Suddenly, every programmer behind it was in the spotlight, and their work was in the spotlight, and that felt incredible. Almost, I would say, looking back to it, way, way more incredible than actually raising the money in the first place. I mean, there's a video on Reddit that went viral the day that video went viral. Another video went out of me on stream, like literally bawling my eyes out at just all these people supporting Notify and retweeting it and saying that this is awesome. Like, that day was just really, really great for me. But everything after that was hell. So yeah, but and honestly, you might be wondering, like, how did we not just get a product out the door? Well, it was just an unfortunate case of just pure inexperience, really. In terms of the technology, I mean, no one could agree on tech stuff. We'd constantly change things. One person would change things, so other things would have to change. Rewrites were commonplace. Building things in house were commonplace. I mean, I made the biggest mistake in the company, I would say, by building a framework called Pulse. I had the entire front end running on a framework that I wrote for state and logic, which meant that that code had to be maintained in order for our main code base to be maintained. An utter waste of time, completely and utterly a waste of time. And because I had set that precedent, other people in the company also felt that they could build their projects for fun and make our code rely on it. And so ultimately, we had more in-house code than goddamn Wix. Like, it was so bad. 65 repositories are in the
Wow.
Notify organization,
wow.
and no app was out for all this time, because all this, we had custom in-house built everything, you name it. It was a mess, and getting out of that mess is harder than digging yourself deeper in that mess. And as a programmer, you want to build, you want to solve problems. You keep finding new problems to solve. But of course, now really, if you want to get a product out the door, everyone's already solved every problem you could possibly do. You don't even need to code to make a startup now. So it's
Yeah.
I love now that you can pretty much get something out the door so quick. You just you slap in with Super Base, React Native, even things like Prisma, and just there's so much that's already built that can just bootstrap stuff so quickly that now you don't really need to worry about that. I think my experience, I didn't know of a lot of these tools. I mean, a lot of these tools were in their infancy when Notify started, and so I remember we wasted a lot of time building our mobile app in Vue Native, which is this odd abstraction around React Native. It really is truly a Frankenstein of React Native. It is now deprecated, but we built a whole code base in that and realized that how terrible it was, and it was falling apart, and there were red errors every day, and that we wasted months of our time, just because we wanted to use Vue because our web app was using Vue. And then we're like, eventually we started building React Native app, and so we deprecated the web app, and so built the web app in React. Yeah.
Wait, so
Just
with all this in mind, have you like ever experienced like burnouts or like during like notified times before that,
yeah.
after?
I mean, of course, burnouts were frequent for me. I would spend a week working harder than I ever work and then burn out for a week straight after that. And the problem with that attitude when you're in a company or especially a house full of programmers is when you as the leader go down on a burnout and completely die for a week, everyone else's morale comes down too. And you never know, like one of the guys in the team might be on his best week while you're just not there. You're just not replying. You're just out of it. You're sleeping 20 hours a day because you've used everything there is for you to use. And of course, I was taking on so many different things. I was, so deep invested in the code of front end and back end, and also doing marketing, also doing business, also, organizing and doing management. And because I had so much on my plate, and everyone else was essentially just programmers, that was another problem with at least how I hired and built a team. All these people had come in through Twitch chat. They were just programmers, all interested in pretty much the same thing. So there was nothing really brought to the table other than coding skills, which is not what you need to build a startup. You need a diverse group of people who fill all the gaps, especially your weaknesses. And I feel like, because I was so interested in coding and I'd gotten relatively good at it, coding wasn't even my weakness, and I had 10 programmers. So what my weakness was management, was business, was just organization. And I, you need, if I were to start something now, I'd have a guy, I'd have a co-founder who's good at that. Like not just more and more programmers.
So you guys didn't have like a CFO?
No, nothing. Just
Wow.
just a big group of programmers, and I was doing myself all the design, all the marketing, all the business stuff. I pretty much took on everything. And again, that's probably another reason why the whole thing failed, because I took on everything myself.
It's remarkable that you got as far as you did doing that all by yourself. Huge props. Jeez.
I appreciate it. It only works so long, though. It's like, of course, bootstrapping a project solo is, I'm sure many people here have the ability to do that. I myself like design, and so I'm not exactly experienced in it, but I was able to do most of the Figma and all that because I'd spent years like mocking up apps, but not knowing how to build them. And so, I pretty much took on most of the design work. But like now it's like at that point it's kind of a pride thing that I was doing the design as well. But I think now I wouldn't even care. Like I just want the design done. I just want the product out the door. That's like my attitude shift from, having felt for 3 years the inability to release something, the inability to feel like I'm not capable of getting this thing out. And now it's like it's the flip side. I just want to ship stuff. I just want to come up with stuff, mock it up, and ship it. And I guess that's kind of what I'm doing at Cal as well. I'm able to just take a feature, mock it up, do my little piece, and get it shipped by the next week. It's like it's a good feeling to be able to do that. Everyone knows this. Just don't dwell too much on all of the other things that you can worry about. You can get so lost with making a startup, like investing your time into things that just don't matter.
Yeah. Honestly,
not mission critical.
Sorry, what? Sorry,
Okay, I was just
we
saying, or not mission critical, right? Like that. I like that word, mission critical, because
Oh
it
yeah,
really
yeah.
just it it defines that, that there really are things that you could be worrying about. Like, you do not need to be building auth. Like, we've done, like, that's been done. Forget about auth. Auth is just something that happens. Like, you've already got it. It's implemented. Firebase, Superbase, you name it. It's already
Right.
out there. Next auth, whatever. Download a template. It's done. You need to be really only focusing on what makes your product actually work. And even if, I spoke to this founder recently, and I actually hooked him up with a developer who I think highly of, because he's building something incredible. It's called With July, guys. Wells, his name's Wells. He's building this thing called With July. It's great. You can look it up. But this guy, but he doesn't code. But he with no code, Airtable, and a bunch of other things. I think I don't know if it was Airtable. It was another no code platform. But he put together this prototype, and he was able to raise money with it and get people using it and actually start turning revenue. And I was just so impressed by that, because now, of course, he's getting the code guys in and he's actually getting it built. But he was able to prove the concept, and that's without any code. And it looked like a good web app, like a really decent web app that you wouldn't even think any differently of. And if your mission is to build a product, you don't need to code. You don't need to invest all this time into thinking about, like, how we can make it scalable and all this rubbish. You just get it out the door any way possible.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, I think I'm like still super early in my startup journey, and that's something that I wasn't really uh, aware of. And so yeah, that's definitely like super valuable information. All right, so
Sorry,
Bearcat,
I can talk for England. Like, I just realized that I ramble on and probably go in circles. I do apologize
oh no no no,
if I
not at
kind of.
all. No, this has been fantastic. Um, yeah, I'm not a developer. I basically handle everything that isn't the coding. So Bearcat, if you have any questions for Jamie that are more like technical, I think
Yeah.
now would be a good moment.
Yeah, so I'll just start off with something just simple. So I know you like Tari and TypeScript. But
Yep.
what's your favorite programming language?
I'm gonna say Rust. Now, I don't know it as well as TypeScript, but I would definitely say it's impossible for me to gas TypeScript up that much, because it is, as much as it is a billion times better than JavaScript, it is still feels like it's Frankenstein together with JavaScript. It still doesn't feel. You only can know this feeling when you've used a programming language that was built from the ground up to work. So, having
Yeah.
used Rust, it's just like, oh my God, wow, everything from the compiler, everything's purposeful. It's all supposed to be there. Everything you write or everything the compiler tells you is fact. TypeScript will just tell you jokes sometimes. Like, it just like, the errors are blow my mind, and it's just,
Yeah.
I mean, it's a definitely, I recommend it over JavaScript for obvious reasons, but it still is not purpose built. It feels like it is a big old mess of anything good. And so, me waltzing on in with startup and chill hop music and a whole team of people, it was kind of I think it was refreshing. And now there's a lot more of that now on Twitch, which I'm so happy about. And so I can't recommend doing it more unless you hate people standing over your shoulder while you're coding, which is essentially what it is.
Yeah. Um, Makes sense, makes sense. And like I also know that the notify tweet that you made blew up, like it went really massive. So I guess that also bring a ton of traction too.
Yeah, it was a
But yeah.
$1 million tweet.
All right. So besides that, I'm just gonna we have like a bunch of Q&A questions here, so I'm just
I'll
gonna
try to
go
get
through
through them
some.
quickly.
Wait,
All
hold on,
right.
hold on.
Oh,
No, no, wait. We have a fun thing. We have a fun thing.
Okay, okay.
So, Jamie, you mentioned this guy named Matteo that kind of like got you
Yes.
into things, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so he's actually in the audience, and I just thought it would be kind of cool to have him come on and maybe
Yeah.
uh,
If he
tell
wants
us a little.
to. If you,
Yeah, yeah. Just like going over how it all started. So yeah, if you're down to do that now, Matteo, you just I just sent.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah. Let's see.
Yeah, I used to call him Matteo because I didn't know his name was pronounced Matteo, and it was only until I was sitting in front of the lead investor and he called him Matteo that I looked at, because Matteo never said, "Oh, my name's Matteo."
Oh,
Like,
there we
just
go.
let me call him Matteo.
All right, there we go.
Hello, guys.
Hey,
Hello. Favorite
How are
Italian.
you today?
we're doing pretty well. How about you?
Yeah, all good. I have to go in 10 minutes, so I don't have much time.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. Thank you so much for coming up here. So yeah, like how'd you meet Jamie? You were in chat, right? And like helping him out with stuff, or how'd that go?
Yeah, so I think I was one of his first viewers, and he had followers only chat, but nobody was talking. He had like 10 viewers or something, only follow chat, and I was like, why this guy has this only follow chat? So I tried to contact him in every way possible because I had nothing to do at that time. Otherwise, I would have just left and leave it at that. But I tried to contact him in every way possible, and in some way I don't remember right now. I got his attention and was like, "Oh, I forgot about this because I got so many spam messages before and all of that." And that
24-hour
was my
follow.
first.
You had to be following for 24 hours in order to say anything.
Yeah.
So even if you did follow, you couldn't say anything.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, no, and that was the first time I interact with Jamie, and it was really a different stream, because other streamers would just open a text editor and code silently, maybe some music. Jamie had a camera. He was interacting once he removed that that only follow chat. So it was a different stream. I enjoyed it. Yeah, I used it to relax and to better my front end skills because I really suck at front end. I think I'm good at back end, but at front end I don't know anything. So yeah, it was cool.
Awesome. And you had like lots of coding experience beforehand, or were you guys kind of like both beginners?
I hacked into my thing and
So
brought it down.
Wait,
I
what?
challenged the chat. I challenged the chat. Anyone can get, because the chat was saying, I think it was you, Matteo, that was saying in the chat that it was like your thing is insecure, and I'm like, okay, well then if you can get into my database, do it. And then literally went on and he like changed me to have like a 99999 followers or something, and I'm like, oh my god, how did you do that? And then suddenly the database was gone and just everything
no,
was
no, it
broken.
wasn't that way. It wasn't that way.
Really?
So yeah, so after I changed your following count, I said I could also delete the database, but I didn't do it because I
Um,
didn't
Okay.
want to delete the database. And Jamie couldn't believe it. Remember that? You couldn't believe that
Yeah.
I could delete your database.
Yeah.
And he said, if you can do it now. And I said, all right, I got permission, so I'm gonna delete everything. And I
Yeah.
deleted the whole database, and then Jamie said, okay. He was disappointed in his face and said, now you have to help me fix all of this stuff. So that's the moment that I joined the team in the sense.
oh man.
Yeah,
That
so
sounds like a
Matteo was
fun
the first
intro
guy to
story.
come on and actually help. That's why he was my main co-founder. He was really like showed me a lot of the things at the very early days. So he was definitely way more experienced than I was, especially because I was lacking at the back end. Sure, I was a bit of a CSS ninja, but when it came to like the actual JavaScript and the back end and all that and the security, and I knew nothing. So
Yeah.
surprised I managed to
That's
deploy anything, to be honest. I don't even know how I did that. I think I just used Firebase or something and pressed some buttons.
No,
but-
we use Heroku.
Oh yeah. Oh god, those were the days. Fun fact, if you go to
Yeah.
Notify, you spell notify wrong, go to notify.me, it actually takes you to the first web app that we made that's still
no,
somehow up. Notify.me.
notify. Oh my
There
God,
it
notify.
is. There it is.
Firebase app.
Yeah. That
That's
was the first web app.
crazy.
That was the
Oh,
first ever,
wow.
and it's still there somehow. I don't know how it's there, but it is.
It's not even that bad. It's just, all right. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, terrible. It's pretty good.
Um,
I think it's shit, but
well, I mean, it's just crazy to see.
Yeah.
Wait, and how many years ago was this? Like, how long have you known each other?
2018.
2018. Yeah.
That's crazy. All
Yeah. So
right. Okay, well, thank you, Matteo, for coming up here. That's pretty cool. And you're in Italy, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm in Italy too. I'm in like just north of Milan.
Oh, nice. I'm gonna be there in a few months.
Oh, cool. All right. Well, thank you for coming up here again. And
Yeah.
yeah, it was nice hearing about you guys' origin story.
Thank you for having me here. Have a great continuation. Bye.
Ciao.
Bye.
All right. So half of the fun time is over, and now I'm just gonna send Jamie's dad an invitation to get up on
oh my.
maybe he can give us some little insight on how it was
Oh.
being Jamie's dad when like all these crazy things were happening. Welcome aboard, Jamie's dad.
Hey, Dad.
Hello, hello. Good to
Hi.
speak to you all.
Good to have you
Welcome.
here.
Oh, yeah, I'm not. No, I'm here in the UK, and because James isn't very good at actually calling home and things, I try to log into these sort of calls and things, to actually keep up on what he's doing and how things are getting on. So Notify was a real journey for the whole family. Watching him do some great and amazing things, learning loads, and yeah, we're just really proud of him, what he's done, and you know how he's doing now and moving on from things. So no, it's all good, all good.
That's awesome.
Appreciate that, Dad.
When
No, that's
he was,
fine. That's fine. And I think you know, you've been asking him about, you know, how he got on with things. He's been like this all his life, unfortunately, and try to bring him up like that. That he gets into things, he gets enthusiastic. But what's always impressed me is his ability to learn. James has always learned by experience, by doing things. Sometimes not always the right thing, but ultimately he's grown from that and actually improved himself. And the example he gave there about wanting to know about something and going having a look at the YouTube video on how to do something and teach himself. It's a really good way, I feel, for everyone today, and I do it as well, to actually learn and pick up new skills, which I think you need running a business and certainly developing software. So no, there's some good bits in this story.
for
That's
sure.
awesome to hear.
Cool.
Did you have any idea, like when he was really into film stuff, that he would be going to this direction? Like you mentioned that he's always sort of been like this, but were you like you wouldn't happen to be a software developer yourself, would you?
No, I used to try doing a bit of coding back in the day when it was very early computers. You know, so it was basic and machine code and things like that. So I've always had an interest in there. I did electronics engineering back in the day.
Wow.
But I think it was interesting. When James was in school, he had the opportunity to do computers, and decided against it. And we always scratched our head and things. And back in when he was doing this, It was more applications. It was more about using Microsoft Office and spreadsheets and things. And it wasn't actually coding, which seems to be a lot more popular these days. And I think he would have picked up on that if he actually did coding back then, because he always enjoyed building things and putting things together. From a very young age. So I'm not surprised he's doing what he's doing now. But I think all the videos, all the YouTube stuff, and I remember helping him make some of his first videos because I didn't know what YouTube was at the time. And James has introduced me to lots of things which are like mainstay now, like Twitter and things that I didn't really know as an old duffer. So I think there's been lots of mutual learning there. He's allowed me to keep current and seeing what's relevant these days. And I think James has always tried to sort of improve himself in things. And I think building on all those skills he acquired when he was doing filming, allowed him to do marketing, allowed him to raise the money with the investors in the first place, to promote what he was doing, to get a good following, to get some excitement about it. And as James said earlier, the difficult bit was focusing on the product development and getting it out there. The other things, I think his previous sort of life, doing things on YouTube's helped him immensely with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think now people now like especially kids now are getting so involved with the internet that they're growing up on it. Everyone knows how to make a TikTok. Everyone knows how to make a tweet, how to post on Instagram, how to build up followers, and that skill that so many kids have these days can be applied to raise millions of dollars. Like it's crazy. And a lot of you're a casual social media user. A lot of the time doesn't know what kind of power that they're wielding if they get good at it. So.
Yeah.
For sure.
Having that background definitely helped.
Wow.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Pine, for agreeing to come up here.
No, that's quite all right. It's been great to speak to you all, and it's quite nice to listen to James tells his stories. He's we're very proud of him, and his mum and sister say hello as well. So I've managed to speak to him this weekend, which is a good thing.
Okay, well, we say hi back. All right, so I think I actually have to go eat dinner. I am gonna pass out. Hopefully, I'm gonna have some pizza. But Bearcat, feel free to handle the Q&A, and yeah,
All
it
right.
was really nice talking to you, Jamie, Mateo, and Jamie's dad.
Likewise, Ari. Pleasure.
See ya.
All right. So before we go on to Q&A, actually, I just wanted to bring up one last thing, which is
Okay.
it's like I know you've heard of something called, or at least I think like Subso. What are your thoughts on that?
I knew we couldn't make it through today without Subso. You know what? It brings me back to a point that was asked on my streams a million times, and that was, if you're going to stream your work, are you not scared of competition? Are you not scared someone's going to steal your idea? And like, I always said no. I always said no. If you want to take my idea, go do it. Because it's about execution at the end of the day. It's about branding. There's so many more things than just the code or just the basic idea that there is to steal or is to take and build upon. And yeah, at the beginning when I first heard of Subso, I was a bit like, oh god. I was saying that with the smug look on my face, like we don't have any competition really, even though I didn't, it popped up. And so I found myself at the beginning, it's fine. It's just one of the guys from my stream. Like it's guy was literally he was relatively young too, so it was like not that actually holds any weight over, a 14-year-old can build an empire these days. So at the same time, I looked at it as kind of humbling as well. That something that I had built had been someone else had invested so much time into building that thing as well. And ultimately, I'm very glad that Subso was made, because it gave me a chance to see what the original pitch for what Notify was, which I steered very far away from, because I didn't feel like it was super exciting to me. And that's why I went towards down the road of like building fan creator interaction, because that was like, okay, that's where I can feel like I can provide value. Whereas in the whole aggregate feed of notifications, I was relatively unamused by it and didn't really like the product myself. And so it was nice to be able to see that product finished, to be able to actually use what I had originally pitched, just built properly, because I never actually got all of the pieces in place to make the whole system work the way that I had pitched it at the very beginning. And Robert and Scott did a wonderful job very quickly of actually putting together a working version of what my original pitch was. Yeah, ultimately, like I'm very glad that it was there, and I think competition is always good and always healthy, because it can push you with what you're building. And also, like if they come up with a good idea, you can miraculously come up with it too if they took your first idea.
Yeah,
But
yeah, makes sense.
yeah, so but ultimately, like I know Robert and Scott very well, and I know how much of a good experience and a positive experience that it's been, especially for Robert, in terms of learning and development. I mean, Robert first came in my streams when he was 11 years old. That man was in my streams, also running the official TypeScript Discord. Dude is gonna go far, I swear to God. But yeah, no, he came in and he'd been in the streams a long time. So, like him building it, honestly, like a lot of people that watch my streams were inspired by it in different ways, either to build something similar to what I was building. I've had most things that I've built on stream influenced or copied or forks. So it's it's not that big of a deal. And if you're going to stream, you have to be kind of prepared for people to get inspired by what you're doing and want to do the same thing. And that's a good thing at the end of the day. I mean, I never really was doing this like I'm going to make the most money in the world and Notify is going to be, like no one can copy it. It's mine. I'm not a very competitive person when it gets down to it. I can feel that aspect of feeling like threatened by competition and feel that aspect of like wanting to compete. But at the same time, I don't think I have the energy to care too much about somebody. The world's a very big place. There's a lot of people to serve, and I think that it's never gonna be an issue. You can continue, even if big Facebook or whatever takes your product, you can still build. You can still serve an audience. You can still build something for a niche.
Yeah,
So,
your streams are like also really good, so that's very I
appreciate
really
it.
like listening to them too. So very nice. But without any other questions from me, I'm going to move on to the Q&A questions.
Okay.
All right, so the first one is from Alistair. He says, "What's your favorite technology slash framework right now?" No, you've been enjoying Tari a lot recently.
Yep. It would be Tori and Rust. Although I'm very into Next.js too.
Oh, it's pronounced Tori. Oh, I see. I've been
Yeah.
saying it wrong.
I don't
All
know.
right.
The founder says Tauri because he's I don't know where he's from, but that's what he says. Anyway.
All right. Next one is from Alfie. He asks, "What is the best lesson you've learned from building Notify?"
You don't need venture capital. Next one.
All right. The next one's from Mark. He asks, how did being a content creator shape your journey as a founder?"
It helped a lot because founding a company is about telling stories, and if you can tell someone a good story, they can get behind your product. And so, knowing how to tell a story is knowing how to sell your product.
That was a good answer.
Appreciate it.
So for the next one by Influxes, they ask anything you wish you did differently when building Notify.
Pretty much everything. Yeah.
All
everything.
right. The next one is again from Polar. He asks, how has it been working at cow.com?
Exact opposite of Notify, and that's what I love about it.
All right, the next one is from Scott. He asks, how was it mentally on you when Notify was winding up? A personal question, so feel free not to answer, but I find it quite hard to deal with reality of things sometimes. So it'd be a great to hear from your perspective.
An emotional journey that's very easy to get lost in. You know, you constantly tell yourself different things as to how you want to think about what you're doing, but ultimately what you're doing is crazy. It's you know, a lot of us will be dealing with building products for hundreds of thousands of people and dealing with money in the millions, and that for a lot of people can go to your head very quickly, and you can make you believe that you are in a place that you're not. Um, and it's very 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 important to remain grounded and to think about really how if you took it to the moon and then you failed really hard, what would you say to yourself when you're in the early days, and make sure to focus on what's important, and to keep well and keep mentally well. It's very easy to say, you know, I'm going to put everything in, I work super 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 hard, but like, you know, that can really it can negatively affect you and others around you if you're pushing yourself more than your limits. And I know it's the startup energy to do that, but you don't actually need to do that. I think it hurts you more if you do in the long run. So managing yourself and keeping healthy is probably the most efficient way to do well at a startup, because you can get a lot more done on a good night's sleep than you can you know, if you're barely awake. Even though if you feel like you're getting stuff done, you're hurting yourself, especially if you burn out the next week.
Yeah, yeah. It's always good to have a good balance.
Yeah,
All right,
yeah.
so for the next question, asked by Contigo. He asks, "What's the weather where you live?"
Overcast. It's Vancouver, Canada.
All right. The next one is from Tejas. He asks, did you have any mentor who guided you on Notify?"
No. And that was probably the hardest part about it, is that I didn't really, at times I had people that would give me advice, but I never really had anyone that I felt was committed to being my mentor, and somebody that could actually guide me. And I really felt like I was just going in on this blind. I was entirely. And so, you know, it's so easy to get lost in it, especially if you have no one above you.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. So for the next question,
Display.
oh, sorry, what was that?
So there's the question is, where do you get the posters on the wall? Display. That one's a
Oh,
short one, so
oh, oh,
I
oh,
wouldn't waste too much time on it.
oh, it's fine. If you want, you can just go through them.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Eric.
It's fine.
Well, the next one is, who are you? So I don't know whether, you know, I don't know if this whole entire podcast here is answered that question, but I'm Jamie. Nice to meet you, Rock.
All right.
I was a feeling when you got that lump sum of money, was it hard not to go crazy with it? It was weird. I ran downstairs and showed my mom my bank account with $630,000 in it, and it was just insanity. And I didn't want to go crazy with it because I really thought to myself, I'm going to spend this properly, right? I'm not going to waste this, blah, 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 blah. But you'd be surprised how fast it slips out of your account when you're paying people, when you have a team of 10. You know, I don't feel like we necessarily went crazy with it. Sure, I did go a little bit Oprah Winfrey in the Apple Store. I will admit that. On the day we landed in New York, I in fact have a video of me going, "You get a phone, you get a phone, you get a phone," as I handed everybody their shiny new iPhones and MacBooks. That was fun, I will admit. But they were all Android users, so I had to do something about it. So I definitely justified that one, but as of, you know, from there on out, though, it's a lot. It's you'll be surprised how $1 million can slip out of your with a payroll of 10 people. You're talking about anywhere between 30 to 40K a month, and then that's without factoring in all the other business related costs that you're going to be spending. So yeah, it will slip out of your wallet very quickly if you're not careful. So yeah.
All right.
Code best practices. Oh God, no. It's like we tried, failed miserably on that one. I think I answered
Yeah.
the next one when I said 40K a month. At the beginning, it was 40K a month. We pulled it down to 30, then 20, and over time we spent less and less. But of course, it didn't help.
how much was like housing? Since were you guys living in an Airbnb?
Oh yeah, the first Airbnbs were paid for by the company, but then after when we moved into like an actual place, like a place that wasn't an Airbnb, we basically agreed on rent because everyone had a salary anyway, and so we didn't want the company to foot the house, and so we essentially just we would all pay rent out of our paychecks basically. And that's how and when you have a $12,000 a month mansion, that sounds very lavish, but if you split it between 10 people, it's a pretty good price to live in downtown Vancouver. We're talking Canadian money here. It's,
Yeah.
um, so yeah, I mean, 1,100 a month or so is not so bad.
Yeah.
But yeah. Was there another question there? Oh, wait, there is more, yeah.
How did you start social media and eventually scale to 130,000 subscribers?
Oh God. Yeah. Well, my first ever video was a coming out video, and that was when I was 16, and it was reposted by a bunch of blogs, and I gained followers for just being me. Like people just wanted to see me, and it was very, very hollow, I would say, in terms of like typical influencer stuff where they're not there for anything you care about. They're only there for you. Like, and whenever I have my old vlogs, I mean, if you ever go back and look at some of them, you'll see me spend like half of the vlog talking about hard drives. My audience did not care about hard drives, but I would make a point of making my segments about it because I wanted to talk about tech. I wanted to talk about things I cared about. And I had an audience that didn't care for that. They just wanted to see the other stuff. And so that's why I let it die. It was very easy to build up that following, and I could have gone way further with the kind of traction that I had at that point, and the dedicated fans that I had at that point. I could have taken it way, way further, but I just didn't like uploading. I didn't like making that kind of content, and that's why I eventually just let it die.
All right. The next one is, what would your advice be to any aspiring Gen Z creators or software engineers?
I think the whole theme of this is just don't think about scaling, don't think about venture, don't think about this crazy thing that I know is very tempting to a young founder, a young creator. You want to be successful, you want to have those credentials. I would say your best bet really is to just make a great product, because in the long term you will feel so much better having looked back and said, I loved that product that I made. Like me with Cash Monkey, took me 3 days. I shipped that out like that, and boom, Cash Monkey's been downloaded 2 million times. People everywhere still to this day use Cash Monkey, and that feels great. That feels way better almost than the entire Notify journey. Just looking back and thinking, wow, I did that. I made that impact, and it took so little effort from me, but it made such a big, long-lasting impact. And so I think if you're a young developer now, focus on building stuff that you're going to be proud of in the years to come, and ship it, finish it. And even if it's not the greatest, get it out there, because I guarantee if you're young, having had done it is way more valuable than shooting for this big goal that you think that looks so great, like raising millions of dollars and being the next big Zuckerberg or whatever the hell you want to imagine yourself to be. That will come if that comes, but don't focus on it. You'll get lost in it.
Yeah. It's always good to see, like, for example, like a year ago, it took you like a few months or weeks to build something, and then like now, like it's been like a few years, and then you can build something like within like a couple of days. That's always good to
Yeah, it's
see.
great. Really great.
All right, the next question is from Matteo. He asks, "What's your favorite pizza topping?"
Pineapple. Yeah. Yeah. Pineapple. You hear that, Mateo? Pineapple. Yeah,
All
he's
right, the next
screaming
question
right
reads.
now.
Okay, the next question is from Benja. He asks, "When are you coming to Norway?"
One day, sure. When I haven't traveled in a long time, and due to visa complications with Canada, traveling is a little difficult right now, and COVID too. So I would
Yeah.
love to go. I'd love to travel. I want to go. I want to go back to America. I want to go back to New York. I want to go home. God, visit my family. I haven't seen them in so long. My sister was 16 when I last saw her, and she's like in university now. She's 18. It's crazy. Probably nearly 19. Yeah, it's nuts. So,
How many siblings do you have?
just my sister. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. The next question: what motivates you to get started with coding?
The idea of being able to, it's crazy what you can do with some code thing, where you can just take some data and repurpose it and shift it around, analyze it, and make money. Like, that's insane, and it takes such little effort in a way. You're just writing words on the page, and those words can make millions of dollars, and that is so exciting. And I know I said don't think of millions of dollars, but I'm just saying the scale of what you can do and what you can achieve with code. um that's super exciting. Also, writing satisfyingly pleasing code. It's like, I'm a big
Yeah.
architect. I love putting together something and then looking back over it and being proud of it. Sometimes I feel like the same way an Instagrammer might feel when they get a nice meal and they want to post it. When I finish a nice page of code, I'm taking screenshots from the perfect angle to see the best, the functions and how they look good together with the comments and everything. Like, it's, writing code can be an art form, and I do love it. I really hope that I love no code and all that for what it's good for, but coding will always have like a special place in my heart just because of um yeah, there's just nothing like it. I love it. I know a lot of people are like, wow, how do you like this? It's so boring. It looks so boring, but I'm like, nah, I get so much pleasure and enjoyment out of it. I don't know why, but I do.
Yeah. I know that feeling. All right. The next question is: if you went back 2 to 3 years, what would you build?
Oh, good question. Uh Ooh, see, I'd say Clubhouse or something, but then I'd be like, nah, I'd just get like absolutely eaten up by all these big corporations that copied it. Like this, we're in one right now. But um, what would I build? God, I mean, I feel tempted to just say something that's successful now, but then again, I think getting successful early on is not always the most the best thing. I think you can end up missing out on some good. I think a good few failures in your life are important to go through. And I might have been lucky I didn't get successful with Notify, because it may have led me even worse places. Who knew? If I was really this inexperienced and had so many hard lessons to learn, if I imagine failing at in a much bigger scale. Notify was like it disappeared like a fart in the wind. No one knew that it was gone. It just faded out. Cross dissolve, gone. But had it been successful, we were talking some big YouTubers, if those guys started using it, in the state that it was, it could have been a much bigger failure. So I'm kind of glad it kind of faded away, because it wasn't a colossal failure. It was just like, oh yeah, what happened to that thing?
Yeah. Do you see like what type of things are you interested in building? Like, are you someone that's into like creator economy space, developer tools?
um Creator economy is super oversaturated, but of course I'm living for it because I am a creator, and so it makes sense in a way. But I'm not like super crazy about it. I tell you where my passion lies, and it's gonna sound kind of crazy. I love file management and storage. I always have. I've been obsessed with data and storing data. And I have hard drive. My dad can testify. I have hard drives on hard drives on hard drives on hard drives of just films that I've made and videos and recordings and all sorts. And I'm obsessed with it. I am a hoarder, digital hoarder. And so I'm obsessed with that kind of. One of my side projects right now is actually a way to better organize that scale of media. And so that I'd say is uh, definitely a passion of mine. And I think that in the future, I would like that particular side project to come to fruition, because I think that's my favorite use of technology is data and what that's going to be like in the future. I mean, not just data on like what you're eating and stuff. I mean, like preserving the history of. That's why I've recorded everything that I did with Notify. There's not a minute of Notify really that I don't have documented, and You know, and we can all talk about it now, but like what's going to be even cooler in the future is looking back at it and actually being able to see every single pivotal moment of Notify, from the day that I came up with the idea live on Twitch to the moment that it died almost live on Twitch. Like it's like I have documented everything, and so I love the idea of using technology to organize and aggregate all of that, and preserve the history of humanity in the future. Like, you know, we are creating so much data, all of us, and it's and we almost don't care about it. We just let it get lost to the internet. And I'm kind of obsessed with like with digging and collecting and hoarding everything that I've created and being able to present it, because that is what you will leave behind. That is your legacy. Everything you make, every tweet, every video, every stream. You know, you might just, like right now, like who knows? The words that we're saying right now could be listened to in 500 years when we're gone.
Yeah.
Crazy to
And
me,
yeah,
absolutely crazy. And so I'm obsessed with preserving things like that.
yeah, and like the thing about where you said earlier, just like recording stuff in general, I think that is a really good thing because not only does it help you, it helps other people too, like in the future.
Learn from
If
your
they're
mistakes,
trying,
right?
yeah, yeah, exactly. Um, and that's like the whole kind of like building in public thing on Twitter. Like people can come to your profile and like see how you started off. Especially like as you tweet updates or as you record and upload updates, whether it's YouTube, Twitter, like any platform. I think that's like a really important thing to do. Cause like think if Elon, for example, was doing like if Elon recorded his entire journey
Yeah.
of the building
Mad.
Tesla, that'd be like so
Why?
like yeah, like that would just be
Incredible, wouldn't
insane.
it?
Yeah.
Incredible. So if I am so lucky as to do anything substantial with my life, you bet I'm gonna have it recorded. Like, and I
Yeah.
guarantee, I implore everybody else to do that too, because it's like you'll be thankful to be able to go look back at everything and see, holy shit, that was like, look, there's me doing the thing that changed my life and everybody else's lives, and I think that, I guess there's a scene in Ready Player One that I'm fascinated by, and that's when they go into the archives of James Halliday's life, and they're able to replay his life, and watch it, you know, and for someone, you know, and for someone who is, I mean, I guess I'm not saying, you know, it's kind of an egotistical way to think, I guess, if you're picturing yourself in that position, but I think in general, just like being able to see that of anybody is going to be crazy. And this generation now, like the kind of people in this server are living in a world where everything is already documented. You know, a lot of stuff that you do is going to be preserved through time. You know, a lot of people like my age and older don't have too much. I mean, I'm thankful that I do, because I'm an edge case where I've been recording things since I was a child. But a lot of people don't even have any records of them as a child, or things that they've done, or any memories of stuff they've created. They just kind of let it disappear, and I couldn't be me. I just,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Record
All
what you're
right.
doing. Document everything you do.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so going back to the Q&A, we're almost done. We have like two more. So from Alistair again, he asks, do you miss Tesco meal deals?
You know what? Yeah, I do. There was something special about them.
I don't even know what Tesco is. I think it's like something in British or not British, sorry, United Kingdom.
Yeah, it's just Tesco, isn't it? Yeah, just shop, grocery store. Just go there and get a meal deal.
All right, so we're almost there. Funny ask, if you want, you can read. That's quite
Yeah,
big.
I think this is a good question to end it on. Is what killed Notify? And I think that's a question that I didn't really answer. And aside from losing the domain name, which, yeah, I didn't know went this whole interview without really talking about the domain, but there's a story behind that. I'll leave it for another time. But we lost the domain for some circumstantial reasons. I didn't actually officially own the domain. So one day it just disappeared. So that did cause the death, right? Like that shut off everything. Servers came down, nothing worked, everything's broken, domain's gone. I could have restored it, but at that point, I was already feeling like it had only been out for a couple of months. And sure, we gained, I think, 6,000 users, but those users weren't really using it because there were no creators on it. And I could have used my connections with all these creators that I'd built up over the years and actually said, by the way, it's ready. But I didn't do that. I didn't go to them and say, you should use Notify now. I just tweeted it and then just, basically said, all right, I've done it. I launched it. And then I could have driven it home, gotten the DMs of all these creators and given them like onboarding plans of how they can integrate it with their content. I could have done the brink of the marketing and all that, but I just didn't feel like the product was ready yet, even though it had launched. We just barely made it out the door. And I didn't even believe in it anymore, to be honest with you. I genuinely didn't think that, the brand even fitted the product. It was called Notify, but it wasn't even about notifications anymore to me. It was really about the fan-creator interaction and that side of things. And they didn't fit with the brand. And so seeing that like that and not being satisfied with what had eventually come out. I mean, the app looked great. I think the UI was nice and it was functional. I just wasn't a fan of the product anymore. Didn't use it. I literally had Notify on my phone this entire time, and I muted the notifications. I hated it. So what kind of founder hates their own product? At that point, it's over.
Yeah.
So yeah, many things. Many creators weren't interested in it anyway because I think the notion of notifications being a problem. I think YouTube kind of fixed their notifications, to be honest, and Twitch has never had a problem with notifications. And platform diversity is still an important thing, and so that's why a lot of people are diversifying their platforms: TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, everything. Like everyone has everything now, and there's still this element that people really want to have like a mailing list and some sort of like. To own their audience, so to speak, is what I used to say. There's still that desire, but it's always going to be inherently hard to do because it goes against every platform. It goes against what that platform wants you to do. And that said, I think Discord even is probably is a really great tool to actually build up like a community. And honestly, I think with addition of some bots, I think even what you guys are doing here with BuilderGroop is like pretty much absolves the need for something like Notify, because you can build these amazing Discord communities to connect with your audience and all that. And so long as you don't get banned for something or you're not Alex Jones, you're good.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even want Alex Jones using my products anyway. So I was I will say I was kind of terrified that just because my platform wasn't a big mainstream hit, that it would be taken up by the bottom of the barrel kind of the guys that really get like outcasted from all these other platforms that were really some of them were really excited about Notify. And I remember thinking, God, I hope my platform does not only cater to these guys. So
Yeah.
I'm out.
All right. If anyone else has any questions to ask Jamie, now would be a good time. You can just, if you want to speak, you can speak or put them in the thread. But besides that, I think it's almost been 2 hours and 15 minutes. It's gonna be 2
Crazy,
hours.
yeah.
Yeah, that's the longest talk we've had. But yeah,
It was weird. I was thinking to myself, I don't even know how we're gonna get through an hour. Like I have no idea what I'm gonna say, but but when you start unpacking it, I swear to God, like it's a rabbit hole. But I'm
Yeah.
surprised there's still 33 people here, and I appreciate everybody who is interested in hearing about everything. And if you ever have any questions that you want to ask me, my DMs are always open. I try to be as responsive as I can, and I'm happy to help people with the questions and tech stuff that they're interested in talking about. So yeah.
Very good.
On a final closing note, I just wanted to mention to our community that we're having a hackathon soon with over $5,000 in funding. And we have prizes like MacBook Air, AirPods, keyboards, etc. So it's gonna be a super fun 48-hour event. It's on the 25th of February. So make sure y'all tune in for that. And yeah, I think that was an interesting talk, Jamie. Super fun hearing your journey.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna call you Ad Break Ari. How's that?
Sure, go for it. Okay. I think that concludes our event today.
All right. It was good talking
Bye-bye.
to you, Jamie, and thank you everyone for
Likewise,
coming.
very good. Thanks for having me on.
Bye-bye.
All right. See you soon.
Pleasure, guys. See ya.
For sure.